Welcome back to Level 1 Podcast. Today I'm joined by evidential medium Barbara Banner, whose work focuses on helping people recognize the signs and messages their loved ones sent from the other side. In this episode, we explore mediumship, healing, and the moments you simply cannot make up. Barbara shares so many powerful stories of evidence, synchronicity, and connection that always reminds us that we are never alone. Let's dive into this beautiful conversation, Signs from Spirit. Hello, welcome back to the Level 1 Podcast. Today I am honored to have Barbara Banner with me to discuss all things mediumship and what's that about and her personal story that's pretty phenomenal. And we'll just go from there and see where the conversation takes us. So Barbara, thank you so much for joining Level 1 today.
I am very glad that that we're both here today.
Yeah. Yeah. So for those listeners who may not have heard of you or know your story, can you just fill us in on a bit about what was your life like before? And then, that led you up to this? Because I always feel like everything along our path up to this point is always preparing us for what we do now in our purpose. And so I'm curious what that looked like for you and how and when you came into this mediumship of yours is pretty phenomenal and very strong, actually.
So before any of this was going on, I was in advertising and marketing. I was a writer. I was, very busy for 35 years. And through that time, I was always wanted to volunteer to do something interesting and help. So I started with a crisis hotline for women. And I was on it for 14 years. It gave me lots of training and before you can do that. And then I went on to the ER at biggest hospital and anywhere. And that also gave me a lot of insight. And I do love a little adrenaline lift. So that prepared me
adrenaline junkie.
Definitely. And then the most important one was I found this crisis response team for the city of LA, where you join a policeman or a fireman on the scene where there's a dead body, and the family of the deceased or a witness, someone who had a body dropped on their windshield, from 50 stories, is there and needs my help. So that's what I'm there to do. And we had extensive training on everything to do with death and grief and all of that. So not until later on, someone called it to my attention. They said, you know what? You were divinely guided to do those three things so you could be a medium. And I said, wow, that makes sense. Because who would pick people that, why are you doing this, crisis response team thing at 3 a.m. when you get a call? I said, because I can. That was the only thing I could say. I could do it, compartmentalize the grief, the everything that was on the scene. So that was how I started. And then it went after I took the first class.
But what does mean after you took the first class of your mediumship or putting
the puzzle together?
Yeah.
There was a lot of paranormal stuff going on at home that I didn't really know what to do with. Orbs flying around in a video. A clock flew off the wall. My mother-in-law's picture fell off the mantle. That wasn't a terrible thing. But and then the fans were going 100 miles an hour in 2 rooms simultaneously, and the lights in the fans were flashing. But the fan light in the bedroom had no light bulb. I had removed it to put in another fan. So I said, okay, Spirit is giving me a call and I better answer or I'm going to be flying off a wall. So
they're trying to get your attention.
Oh yeah. I took a class from Suzanne Giesman. Luckily, divine guidance to go to her. She's the greatest. And 7 months later, I was hanging a shingle, as they called it. So
wonderful.
Amazing.
Quite the ride. Do you find that people typically come to you to heal from grief and trauma or just to have a conversation with a loved one that they just felt like
Yes.
they needed to, or all the
Yeah.
above.
Conversation. If the reading goes well, then it will be healing for them. But, there's grief coaches and there's wonderful organizations like Helping Parents Heal and,
Yeah.
Forever Family and things like that, that if they want to just deal with the grief. But a mediumship reading and little trance message at the end is very healing. When they really understand that their loved one is still around them all the
Yeah.
time and knows what they're doing, knows what they're thinking, is protecting them, sending them little messages that they may be too deep in grief to understand that that was a message. It wasn't just a, a feather flying on your nose,
Yeah.
things. So a reading like that can give them so much hope that
Yeah.
they're, as I always tell people, they're not gone. They just went a little ahead of you. They're just sort of in a different form, but they're not gone and you will meet up again. So it
Yeah.
gives them some.
Yeah, I love that because what I've found in my work too, I started the very first thing that I started channeling were my loved ones from the other side. My grandfather came through, my great grandma, who was my favorite person in the whole world.
Right.
And my mother came through, and it was so healing for me to understand that even though I felt that I was really alone in this process in this world, I really wasn't. And that was my first aha when I understand that I get messages from other sources from the other side, that really turns a light on, doesn't it, for people?
Yes. So you remembered what you channeled? You remembered your words? Because I
Uh-huh.
don't remember a lot of,
Uh-huh.
most of it. Some they'll
Uh-huh.
have to like give me a word that it'll spark something, but I'm like pretty out of it to
Yeah.
know exactly what I said after it's over.
So I want to talk about that a little bit. So I want to, you did this thing about it's basically kind of like evidential mediumship, right? So you always ask for evidence, and what because you don't hear what or remember what you're saying a lot. I guess then that I think that's awesome to have this evidence because there's always naysayers that are like, "How does she know?" And well,
Well,
and
it's
so how do you?
it's hard. There's
Uh-huh.
psychic. I'm a psychic evidential trance medium. So
Oh,
I don't do just a psychic reading on somebody. If things come up like, well, I'm having some issues with my daughter, I can sort of zoom in and say, well, your daughter is, she's very depressed or she's this and she needs this. And that's it. But for evidential, I am fully conscious. I know I see them, hear them, feel them. They move me around sometimes. Um, and and so that's different. I'm cognizant of everything. But when I do a trance message at the end, I have to like sit in and get much deeper and go down and to a point where I get my little tingles or that they want to speak now. And then I just sort of sit back or go have a cup of coffee and then when I come back, I'll just say I don't remember hardly anything, so I hope it resonated. And as long as they say absolutely or sobbing, I know that spirit
yeah.
did its work.
Well, I love that you deciphered between the two. So can we go back a little to the evidence part? Because I know that you always ask for evidence. And do you have any stories or one that sticks out that you could share? Don't mind sharing about using that evidence? Because I think a lot of people still have this like, is it real? How is it? How do I know this is working? Right.
Okay. Spirit knows before. I always have people, I give them some documents before they have a reading. And it says have some questions. But spirit already knows what you need to know. And they know that you've been thinking about this one thing that was just in the back of your mind and they already know. So I always say spirit's going to give you what you need to know today, not always what you want to know. I have this woman who comes every year on her husband's angel day. And she's a little insecure about it, but she always says, I have not felt my husband for 6 months. I'm getting no signs. I don't know what he's doing. He might have a girlfriend up there. And she was just so down and depressed. And it was like, it was, she said, if he's really around me, like you say, he's going to know what TV show I watched during the pandemic. Now, that scared the hell out of me that I'm going to have to hope that they give me something, because that is just so, you know, you can't fake that. It's like
Yeah.
one in a million. So the husband, we got very close because
Yeah.
we worked together to try to boost her up. He said
Oh.
it was Outlander. And it was Outlander. So
Oh, you love that.
she said, you have no idea how you just made me feel, because I understand that I don't have to feel him around me to know he is there with me, and that I shouldn't panic. But she's been doing this for 5 years with me, testing, crazy things.
Really?
And I thinking it's going to be, maybe she'll stop doing that, but I don't think she will. And I had another one, which was really, it sort of just changed the way I thought about working with parents who've lost children. I had a woman, and in my readings, I tell them, think of a question that's about, you know, feeling or something you need to know. But don't tell me what the question is. I don't want to know, because I don't want my head to get into it. As a medium,
Sure.
that's a losing situation if if it comes into your head. So I said, have you asked him? It was like a son. And she said, I've asked him. So I said, I'll tell you what I'm seeing. I am seeing a little boy riding on the back of a giant butterfly on the other side. And he's dive bombing. He's having the best time possible. I said, does that have anything to do with your question? And she said, yes, you'll have no idea. So she said, after my son passed, I bought a book for children, how to explain death to children. It was his younger sister. And in the book, there's a whole page that has a picture of a little boy riding on the back of a butterfly.
Oh,
I have a picture of it. I took a picture off the thing. And you have no idea how much hope that gave her.
yeah.
That her no is here because he knew what to show me. I mean, they
Yeah.
just put things in my head. I just have to say what it is. And that he knew he was there when she read the book to his sister, and that she's around them. What could be a bigger gift to help you heal or have hope
Yeah.
than he's not really gone, you know? We'll learn
Yeah.
how to communicate. We'll figure it out so that we know and that I
Yeah.
understand what the little symbols he's giving me are. But that was a game changer.
Oh,
That
that's
spirit was able to do that for her, and I
yeah.
just was so grateful that he could use my mouth to do it.
Yeah. How amazing and how healing. Like I'm a mother and we're always worried, right? And I think that when they pass, we're just as worried. Are they okay? Are they watching? Are they having a good time? Are they,
Right? What are they
whatever?
doing? Yes, I want
Yeah.
to picture if
Yeah.
time takes about 1 second. It's always the last one. Um, it's
Up
really hard.
with the butterfly.
Yeah,
Yes. Oh,
writing on it, and
it's beautiful. Yeah.
those things
So
that happen are so helpful.
yeah, and I'm sure from your standpoint too, it's also healing and rewarding for you and also keeps you on your path of purpose. Like, because I think a lot of healers and other practitioners that are in this realm of helping continue to do their work, but it's always cool because when you reciprocate after you give, you're also like, yes, I'm on the right path. It's kind of like a real reminder when you think that, yeah, I can keep going. This is what I'm doing.
It keeps us going as well, because
Mm.
mediums don't like to hear a no, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't listen to you
our
anymore.
heads.
Yeah.
So.
So when you communicate with them, what do they respond in all different ways, symbols, words, gestures? Do they
I
move
get a lot
your
of
body?
symbolism. They do. I get a lot of symbolism too. They don't make it easy. Um, in fact, sometimes they just go around in a circle. I did a woman whose Um, I said, well, spirit is, I'm trying to get something that she'll really, respond to. Uh, Spirit is showing me a little Surrey, like a Surrey with a fringe on top, sort of really old fashioned, like over 100 years ago. And then out of my mouth came, it's not like a coach that Dracula would have. So she goes, Dracula, tomorrow night I'm going to see the Dracula ballet. And I said, could you just show me a picture of Dracula? Do you have to like start with a Surrey that's really, frivolous? It's, I have very funny guides, and they say that they give you guides that can work with you. So they know I like doing things fast, and they can move me. I remember one thing, I had two grandmothers, and the client said, they are so similar. You're going to have to give me something that only one would do. And so all of a sudden I'm going like this. And I said, I don't know. I feel like I'm in a place I'm churning butter. And the woman looked at me like such a stare. And I thought she thought I was so crazy that she just couldn't even answer that. And I said, look, I know I'm not churning butter. Okay. No, I know I'm not plunging a toilet. Okay. She goes, no, you were right. It was churning butter. So I know it's grandma. Well, she was just joshing me, but
Yeah, that's funny.
they just make me do things, and it's fun,
Yeah. Yeah. Keeps it interesting, right? Yeah.
interesting. I am known for trying to keep things light in a reading. And of course you have to read the room. I mean, my daughter says, Mom, read the room. What you said is not funny. Okay. So I do have to read the temperature. And if it's being really super compassionate and serious and everything, that's great. Whatever they need, whatever spirit wants to give them. So, but mostly there's a lot of laughs that happen.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's like, because I think, well, also humor helps lift the vibration, the frequency, the healing. And so,
everything. Do you know that 10 minutes of laughter equals 2 hours of restorative sleep? It can lower your blood pressure. It can keep you from getting, depressed. It raises your immune system. Laughter, that kind of vibration is all good. And those are studies from like Cleveland Clinic and Berkeley University that are showing laughter is medicine.
Absolutely. So I think too that when we're connecting with people from the other side of our loved ones, they want us to have that laughter because we're so stuck in the grief, right? The grief and the fear and worry of, oh, how am I going to make it without them? How are they making it? Does he say goodbye? Yeah, they just want to know, and they want us to be happy.
They want us to be happy. They want us to have joy and love from other people. They're not jealous or angry in any way. They don't want you to feel guilty. All they want is the best for you because they are in the best place. They are home.
Oh, for sure.
And you got to, if you want to honor them, then do that. All they want is you to have a wonderful, joyous life and be of service to others. Basically, those two things I heard. So,
interesting. Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah. Right.
They don't, when you say, I'd give my right arm to have them back. They don't want our appendages, really. All they want is us to be happy.
Yeah, they do. And to move on. And sometimes they have messages for our own path of discovery as well. I believe too. So when my mother, when my mother came through, she really set me on my path that she gave me. So I apparently had a conversation with my guides before coming here that I want everything in riddles because I'm a huge problem solver. So I'm like, a detective in my own life this whole time with funny little riddles the entire time. So they just give me riddles all the time. So that's how funny my guides are.
That's great. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah. So I see it as mediumship. Coming to a medium is also part of that, like just another piece of puzzle for them to keep moving through their own awakening process too. If they're not just coming for grief, but they could use mediumship as a form of awakening on their own journey.
Well, I find that people, most of the people that have been in our classes are people who've had like somebody pass. And their original class was to see if they could connect on their own. You can't keep going to mediums, you'll be broke. Okay.
Yeah.
I I show people how to do like a little exercise at the end of my session so that they can know that their loved one is around them
I
and that
love
they could, if it works for them, um, then they can do it every week. They can ask the question every week and just get that connection going and open up, because the more they believe, the more they'll receive. It's not seeing is believing for us. If you've
that.
lost someone, it's believing is seeing.
I would agree with that statement 100% because we all have these same capabilities within us. It's just, do we have that belief system out of the way so that we can step into that to allow that to come to us and receive to us? Yeah.
If somebody comes in and they're show me, it's very difficult for me to sort of just pretend that it's all is good and all the energy is right. And um, I had a very skeptical woman come in, and she had
Um,
a dog. And everything I said, well, you could have seen that in the newspaper. Yeah, that might be a little too broad. I don't, what was I wearing yesterday? Okay. Things like that, that just, okay. And maybe somebody else can handle it better than me. Anyway, we got through this, and I know she uh, wasn't sure what anything. So a few days later, I get in the middle of the night, I get her husband, who I saw and knew how he passed, a half a toasted bagel, and the inside is scooped out. Okay. So I get in touch with her and I said, look, your husband paid me a visit at 3 in the morning, and this must be important because I like to be sleeping then. And I said, he showed me the bagel scooped out of that. I said, does that mean anything to you? She goes, no, of course not. It's just a bagel. Everyone scoops out their bagels, save a few calories. I said, okay, just be aware that that's what he gave me. 4 days later, she gets back from back east because she visited the in-laws, her husband's parents. And she said, you're not going to believe this. She said, my father-in-law said, I invented a product and I have a prototype and I want to show you something and see if you understand what it is. And she said, he showed me some contraption. And I said, I have no idea. He said, it's a bagel scooper. Can't make this stuff up.
Can't make it up. I say that all the time.
How?
With you, Barbara.
Yeah, you can't make it up. You've got to just say, okay. And now she's a firm believer. And is getting all sorts of messages with the gematria and this, that, and she just needed to get over that hump.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For some, it
What
takes a little
is-
longer than others. Yes.
Yeah,
It's-
it does.
How often
Oh,
do you
with
think
it, yeah.
people come to a medium before they are no longer a skeptic? Do you see like an average of that, or?
Well, I've had some therapists send me somebody for like Barbara's one session boot camp. Because the therapist says they're stuck in grief.
Oh.
They just can't move forward, or they can't understand. And hopefully after just one session and getting some information that's really crystal clear, and spirit seems to know what to say, that's going to help them realize, hey, that coin that I stepped over, that I stopped for a second, that was probably from him, and this and the lights twinkling, so maybe he really is around. Maybe his consciousness is living on, and it can just get them out of the cement for a second. You know what I mean? To just give them that push that might open up their eyes, where they want to start reading about the afterlife or whatever, so that they can open up. So it's like I'm a can opener, just open it up and it flies out. And usually it's just like once can do it.
Oh, I love that. Do you find outside of grief that there's another theme that people come to you for
Well,
messages?
the humor for sure. Because their loved one was funny,
Uh-huh.
and the spirit shows me their essence.
Mm.
And I had a woman come, and I said, okay, hopefully you know who this is. I got a guy with marachas, and he's like going like this, and he's a ham. He's got a big personality, and he's got a conga line behind him. She goes, that's my father. She says, I have a picture of that when we went on a cruise. He was leading the band and everything and doing the marachas. So why not? She came to the right place. I got him. I got him. She knew in a second that was him. And he wanted to show her right away that he was the same loving, crazy person that he was when he was alive. So,
Oh, I love that. Do people to you to have you seen for healing, like an ailment physically?
no, I haven't. All through my training and everything, I've always been
Uh-huh.
getting messages that, people have channeled for me. Stay in your lane. Stay in your lane. There are so many rabbit holes you can go down. Reiki and healing and this shamanism. It was overwhelming for me. They just said,
Yeah.
stay in your lane. And they
Yeah.
said, you've been doing this about 1,000 years, and that's why it came so fast.
So through your lineage and through past lives and yeah.
I didn't even know I had a lineage. I had after in the pandemic is when this happened, and
Uh,
I was talking to my dad and everything, and he's on the other side. I said, I better tell mom. So my mother was like 104. And I said, Mom, I have to tell you something. I've become a medium. And I didn't want to tell you. I didn't know if it would throw you over the edge,
that's
she said, your grandmother used to drag me to fortune tellers and psychic and this and that. And she said she had her own juju. She had people lined up to get information from her and advice. She
oh,
goes, yeah, she definitely had it. I said, Mom, you're 104. When did you think you were going to tell me this? I had no idea.
on the other side, of course, Barbara. Yeah.
Yeah. They didn't talk about it in that generation.
Yeah.
That was just one generation from burning a witch at the stake. I
I'm
mean,
the same, especially a woman. Yeah.
a
We
woman.
didn't, we didn't
So,
speak up.
from Russia, from the
Oh,
old country.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
We keep
that
that
was
stuff to ourselves. Yes.
exactly. So I guess
Wow.
the
Oh my
lineage.
gosh. Um, what else do you use anything else with your work? Like some people, I know, stay in your lane, right? There's so many other things that we could do. Do you use like crystals with your work sometimes? Or aha, there we go. Okay.
Oh, a lot of times, because I always ask clients, don't ask me a yes or no question, for
Right.
the real questions, because spirit is, they were here playing a part in a play, just
Yeah.
doing what they were supposed to do. And they don't want a yes or no question for the main thing. So,
So easy.
I, but they would ask me something, and I would have a feeling, and I didn't really want to say it until I said, let me just get a backup verification. And I'll say, if it goes clockwise, it's a yes. If it goes counterclockwise, it's a no. And I always do a test before. Like I would say, um, Angela has purple hair, and you can see it's going in a no, it's going counterclockwise. So I always test it to make sure we got the right spirits and we don't have a drop in, because I
Yeah.
always say it's not the mic night, guys. Come if you're invited.
Yeah.
So that's the only really thing I use, besides uh sometimes if a reading doesn't go the way I want it to go, or probably the way they want it to go, because whatever the energy's off, or I'm exhausted from, I get so exhausted after doing trance. It just like
I
sucks.
understand.
Up.
Yeah.
Let's say, can we just redo this? In a day or two, and they always say yes, yes.
Yeah.
And I like to contact the person that wasn't coming through as tight as I wanted. And by the time we have our meeting, I've got 1.5 to 2 pages of evidence that their spirit, their mother or something, gave me. And it's always accurate, because
Yeah.
nobody's around. And for sometimes, spirit doesn't just they want to come later. They want a private. They want a one-on-one.
That makes sense. Yeah. And then the person giving it too, like you probably, do you ever do like a ritual before you start with each one? Like when I sit with people, like right now, I have a candle for us. Like,
Okay.
you
I
know,
usually I can do I I have an incense desk here over here. I can do that, or I do an intro, which
okay.
lets them know how I work, so that they're not
Perfect.
scared if I suddenly go. I say if I bust into the fork, do not call 911. It is not a medical emergency. And that's one of the things I say in the beginning of a intro to know to take the temperature of the room. Because
Right.
most people laugh,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
somebody just looks at me like, okay, let's get on with this lady. Then I'll know
Very, very serious. Yes.
myself. Okay.
Yes.
Um, so I do have that's what I do. I try to warm you know how if a comedian's gonna be on a TV show, they have someone to like a clown or somebody to warm the room. I
Yeah.
like to see if I warm the room before I go and
I
do.
love that so much. Yeah. Not everybody does that. So that's good. We're all a human at the end of the day. So we're just having a human experience to try to make it as fun as possible, right? So
Definitely.
yeah. On the drop-ins, how do you know when someone is dropping in that wasn't invited? Do you get like,
I don't have uninvited people. In fact, I
uh-huh,
find that spirit it belongs to somebody. And
uh-huh,
there's a time where I start a reading and I get somebody and she goes, I don't know who that is. And then they come, I push them aside, ask them to go
yeah,
aside. And then later on, I'll get more information from them. And I will keep asking my next client, do
uh-huh,
you have a son that, that da 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 da? And they'll say, no, that's not for me. But then 4 days later, the woman said, I said, do you have any idea? She goes, that's my son. Everything you said, I could take. So, and I'm getting goosebumps now. 4 days later, somebody took it. So I
oh,
know, and I write things down and I keep them and I
yeah,
will bring them out to see if somebody can take them.
interesting,
They just
interesting.
wanted to her son just wanted to get in touch with her and he couldn't wait.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like there's a lot of excitement on the other side of the veil that we just don't tap into, you know? And then if someone's constantly trying to come through, do you find it's because they have a really important message?
Yes, yes. A lot of times, well, not a lot of times, but sometimes, like, because I always ask people, who do you want? Who?
Yeah.
I don't want to leave it to the cosmos. I always say, who would you like? Who's the person you really
Yeah.
want to connect with?
Definitely.
And if they say their mother, and then like a grand, like a grandfather comes and shows me he's really worried. I said, do you know somebody named, Angela or something? And the client may say, well, she's a really good friend. I said, she's having a hard time right now, isn't she? She said, yes, I feel like she's really such and such. And I tell them what I'm
Mhm.
seeing. And the grandfather just wanted to um, call attention to his granddaughter that her friend, Angela, needs a phone call, that she's feeling really badly, that she's in trouble, that she's, maybe she's got some addiction problem. There's something going on that grandpa needed to call attention. And that's where my psychic stuff comes in.
Yeah.
If I do anything, when they call a human that is alive, then
Yeah.
I go in that way. And
That's
then,
sweet.
because there's always a reason if mom doesn't
Yeah.
come first.
Yeah. Yeah. That's sweet. Yeah. I love that. I love mediumship because I
I
just love
know.
it.
I just feel so much gratitude
Yeah.
that I can do this. And
Yeah.
it's so rewarding.
It's so rewarding and refreshing and loving. Like there's so much love too. Like to me, I don't feel like anytime I connect, I always like feel love coming in, even if it's an important message or it's always full of so much love, right? The energy of it and message, and it's always coming from that place of love and connection. And so I just love mediumship, and I can't wait for the whole world to do it
Right.
for
Well, this is
themselves.
the year that everyone is supposed to start like opening up and not thinking that we need to be medicated, So, um,
Yes, and
and I find
26 is going to be extremely that. True.
exactly, and it's as soon as the ETs, come and start walking down the street, I think everybody's gonna just say, if you can't beat them, join them. I mean, there's something going on.
That'll be hard to deny when we start seeing and hearing
Exactly.
it and understanding full disclosure of that as well. Yeah. Yeah. It's hard to, I think we hear more and more people opening up and contacting other realms and people, and gifts are coming on board. And I think it's almost really difficult in this day and age to ignore all of it. Right. So,
Right. Yeah. So, and I sort of keep that stuff on the down low because a lot of people just, they're not ready for it.
ready. And some are here not to be ready. So, right.
Exactly.
So, yeah. Is there anything else that you want to share about what you do that would make people like, "Wow, I didn't know that," or "That is intriguing. I hadn't thought of that before with mediumship," or
Well, I do want to say that sometimes if you're not ready or you don't quite believe it, you can, and those for the people that say, I'm not getting any signs. And I'm saying,
yeah.
you are. Okay. You are. You're just not aware of it.
Mhm.
And so I give them this little exercise at the end, and I say, I'm going to count to 3, and then you're going to tell me the first item or thing that comes into your mind. I go 1, 2, 3. What is it? You can pick something right now. Go ahead, Angela. First thing that comes into your mind. What is it?
A lily flower.
A lily flower. Okay. And then I say, your loved one is going to show you a lily flower, but it is not going to be where you think. It is not going to be, in the market. It's going to be someplace you have no idea. You could have a license plate in front of you that says Lily, or you could meet a girl who comes up to you and says, "Oh, you lost that," and you say, "What's your name, Lily?" There's going to be something with Lily, if that's the first thing in your mind. Now, if you wait 3 seconds, our critical mind is going to get in there and say, "Lily, forget that. Let's do, an antelope." It's not going to work, okay? Because spirit put Lily in your mind because they knew where you're going to be and when you're going to be there to get that message. And once you get that and you realize spirit put that in my head, okay? That's a message for you that they are there and you can contact them and get what they have to say so easily. I'll give you an example with a picture because this one was just crazy. Okay, so I was doing a podcast, and I was telling the host, this is the exercise I do, and I told her, and then we ended it. Whatever. A few days later, she gets in touch with me. She goes, "You don't know this, but I played along with the name something, the first thing in your mind." She goes, and it came out to be elephant, and she said, thought to myself, elephant? Why did I think of elephant? I'm not going to see an elephant. And it doesn't count if you go to the zoo or something. It has to be
You make yourself see an elephant. Yeah.
So she says, I took my son to a mini golf the other day. I hadn't been to. And what was on
Ah,
the
a
whole,
big old elephant.
a big giant, maybe 15-foot elephant that you had to get the ball through. That kind of stuff, you can't make it up. It has to be real. There's no other way that it could be. And if that happened to you and you didn't really know if you should believe it all, you would think twice. Especially if I say, well, your husband's showing me butterflies for you, that you get some butterflies. And I said, "Have you had any butterflies around you?" And someone she was with said, I told you, you have all these butterflies flying behind you and around you and stuff. Haven't you noticed? And the client says, well, I thought it might be butterfly migration time. I said, why don't you come up with something like that? How can you talk away a butterfly who's flying around your head when I told you butterfly?
Yeah. Yeah. They're just not being present at the moment. Yeah.
I think it's the whoppers, that they just walk by something, and just,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just crazy. This is,
Yeah. It's like, or they're trying to constantly send you a message. Like lately for myself, I can only speak of my own experience, but for myself, a quarter keeps showing up everywhere. Just randomly falls out of my pocket. I didn't even know I had a quarter in my pocket, like everywhere I go for like a month. I was like, okay.
and I tell people, if you get a coin, you have to look at the date because it may be your,
Oh, good idea.
your year of birth,
Yeah.
and keep them all. I said, if you find feathers that you keep, my daughter had walked into the kitchen one morning and there was a feather on the floor, and she had a friend come in from out of town who looked at the feather. She said, that feather was on the floor last night 3 times. And each time when I came in the kitchen, I threw it in the trash can, which has a flip lid. She said, it kept, I didn't know where it was coming from, but I threw it away 3 times. That's a sign from my daughter's grandmother on the other side. So I was shocked. I didn't know they could pull it out of a trash can, lift the lid, and put it.
So crazy wild, right?
I know. I have an Italian client whose fiance always leaves her a heart somewhere. So she sends me this. She goes, you can't believe this. She goes, a piece of pasta that I just picked up on the fork in the shape of a heart. You can't make this stuff up.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the message of the day, Barbara, is be present.
Be present and just accept. What if it's real? I mean, what if it is something? Why do I push it away? Why do I want to say no? How does it hurt you to say,
why not?
Oh, exactly. Exactly. Like, I've never had a piece of pasta shaped in a heart before. So maybe this is a different time.
Yeah. I love that.
Just maybe.
I love it. Barbara,
yeah.
I just love this conversation today. So full of joy. I mean, who would want to work with you? You're so bubbly and so fun. How can people get a hold of you to work with you?
It's very easy. Bannermedium.com. And
Pretty
that's
easy.
my website, and it has information on me. You can book through it. It has testimonials, and on the last page, videos. It has little video clips and some of the podcasts I've been on, and TikTok, Facebook, and
All the usual suspects.
yeah, I put little video clips, and they're fun, cute things too, and some really heartwarming things. So
they're really fun. Barbara, thank you for joining us and our listeners today. And I look forward to following your work even more afterwards. So I appreciate you and I'm so grateful for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's really just been a lot of fun. And that's what we want.
To work with Barbara Banner, visit bannermedium.com, where you can book a session, browse testimonials, and explore more of her work. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and check out more conversations on the Love of One podcast. Thank you for listening.